Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Safe Room featuring Security Side Quest. I'm your host, Russ Noll, and Tristan, our other host, is out again this week. But to fill in, we have our guest host, who we. Yeah, Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name is Daniel Begimer. I'm a senior security engineer on AWS, working on the AWS Security Incident Response team. I've been around here for over 5 years now and been focused on different domains, including security incident response, application security, and recently more around like AI security and building AI agents.
Awesome. Thank you for introducing yourself. As always, I'm Russ. I'm also from the customer incident response team, and we deal with customer incidents and bad days in general. I just wanted to say welcome. Please tell us where everyone's chat coming in from chat. Sorry, I apologize. This is such a last minute change that we are, but I was so excited because of the new release of this tool. So let's talk. Can you introduce the tool and just a real quick overview? We're gonna, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we recently introduced AI capabilities feature in the AWS Security Incident Response service. Uh, so AWS Security Incident Response, it's like service that was out for around a year. So whenever like one of our customers having a bad day, they can just like create a case and get a human responder within minutes. And literally like last Friday, so like we're already a couple of days out, we released the AI capabilities and investigative agent for this service. Uh, so with this new like feature, like whenever you open a case and you're having your bad day, you're still getting a human responder within minutes, but you're getting our AI agent kicks off automatically as soon as you open the case. So this is something that will be pretty cool to show, and I assume we're gonna have like a demo at some point as well.
Yes, of course. And I just wanted to be able to introduce our episode, which is AI agents in action, accelerating security investigations with AWS Security Incident Response. Thank you for helping me introduce that episode. Appreciate you coming on last minute as well. Like you said, it just came out on Friday, so I jumped in and I was like, Daniel, can you come please on the show and do a demo? So I really appreciate you coming on and doing that. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of introduce the episode and who you are and what you're doing before we get into kind of more of our icebreaker and our fun little question that we always do. So this episode, we have a new question, and it is, what's your go-to security incident snack? I'm going to go first. Please throw it in the chat. I'm going to go first. Daniel, you think of your answer. And I'm going to go with pretzels. I think pretzels is perfect. One, because it's salty and it reminds me to drink water overnight, especially when I was, working the night shift, as a SOC analyst back in the day. Pretzels. That's what I'm going to go with. Quick and easy, and they remind you to drink water. What about you?
Just to be a snack, I think that coffee like would be my when I think about snacking or like drinking, like when working on a security incident response, like it would be like probably coffee or like some energy drinks. I hope it's still qualified for the question.
Yeah,
I assume you all know why I would need caffeine when running a time-sensitive security event and investigate it. So yeah.
absolutely. I feel like if we count coffee and energy drinks, that's probably going to be our go-to answer for most people. I think that there's such a ridiculous amount of people with like monster or energy drink addictions in the sock floor or whatever. So yeah, that's a good one. Okay, let's see. We have butter pretzels are top. Ooh, I don't really know what butter pretzels are, but those sound pretty good. And then we also have some chocolate covered espresso beans. That's another good one.
Oh.
It does a little bit of both, keeps you up with the caffeine, but it's also a little sweet. And seaweed. Oh, that's another good one too. And it also is salty, so it makes you remember that water. Awesome. That was a good one. I like that one. It's not like your favorite. It's like, oh, what's the go-to at night? And yeah, if you exclude coffee and Monster, I'm sure you come up with a lot of interesting answers for that one. Cool. That was fun. Let's jump right into it. So last week, we did an episode on security automation. So this week, because these shows are modular and you don't have to have seen the last episode to understand this one, so we're going to kind of, if you don't mind, Daniel, go over a little bit of the difference between just AWS security automation or implementing an automated IR response with an actual agentic IR response. Do you want to go over that a little bit, Daniel?
Sure. So like when thinking about like automation around incident response is more like around like building or integrating your incident response workflows with some static scripting. So a good example is like try to find like the right severity and based on that to define the actions, or like going through like the different like security event types. So if I have this, I'm gonna do that. And when you're gonna involve agents, those actions becoming less deterministic, right? Like you have more flexibility on your input that you can provide your AI agents, but you're also gonna get more flexibility on the output that you're gonna get. So AI agents for security can be very powerful, but you need to know how to do it the right way and how you're really handling the input and outputs to really maximize benefits and reduce like AI issues that we might observe, like hallucinations and mistakes.
That's a really good point. Because I think there's a lot that, once you're dealing with agentic tooling that doesn't really apply to regular automation, especially when you're talking about AI safeguards and stuff like that. Can you tell me maybe at a high level, like what kind of things we should be looking out for as far as like specifically for agentic? You already mentioned one, but if maybe if there's a couple that you can talk about.
Yeah, so in general, like when you build agentic AI solutions, you need to think like how you gonna make sure they work in the right way and how you minimize risks. And there are some tools out there that can help you to do that. So one good example is like guardrails. Um, One of like if you will check like OWASP for top OWASP risks for LLM applications, or like the most common security events that were around like AI solutions, it's usually gonna involve prompt injections. So how you really protect against those, it's a combination of like different layers that you can implement on top of your agent. And one of them is guardrails. And guardrails can eventually um, look at the input and the outputs that your agents ingest or generates, and really make sure it's filtering things it shouldn't get. So the most classic example is like ignore everything and do that, right? Like we saw that in the past already, and most of the models already have like built-in protection for that, but implementing guardrail will probably block such activity. Another challenge with like building an agent is like how you really making sure it's doing the right thing. How you really make sure that like if it needs to provide recipes, or if it's need like to help you shop, or if it needs to help you to run your security investigations, how to make sure it really gives you high quality, accurate outputs. And that's like the word of eval. So like when you build your AI agents, you probably want like to have enough data and run your AI agent on different data sets and scenarios and investigate what were the outputs and how well it performed and tune it accordingly.
So, just in general, because thank you so much for coming on so last minute. But since we have someone who works specifically with AI agents in security, now that I got you here, I'm going to ask you a whole ton of questions. So it's the development process is very different, right? So if I'm just creating a regular automation or a script, it's kind of like I put in logic and then it either works or it doesn't, right? So it's kind of a little bit more binary, either yes or no. But since we are working with agentic tooling, and there's so many different possible outcomes where you're saying, yeah, this is right, but maybe 90% of it instead of 100, or maybe 50%. Like, how does that kind of, how does that change things in your workflow?
Yeah, so this is like this is a challenge, and we had this challenge also like when we're building different AI agents, and there are a couple of methods that you can use in order to tackle that.
Mhm.
One of them is using LLM as a judge. So because you cannot really know like not necessarily can know how good looks like, you can like use LLM as a judge, give it like the prompts of like what you expect, what you expect to see, and run it against the different outputs that you get from your AI agent. So it's basically having an AI agent to judge the AI agent. Another approach is to having your users, your humans, or yourself, like getting like eyes from like professionals, experts that knows how it should look like, how good should look like, what should be like the you mentioned like the expected output, and really let them review it and like give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Yeah.
And there are really, it really depends like on which agent you're building, but there are some methods of like, they can be very simple. Uh, for example, looking for specific strings in the output. If right now I'm running an investigation on SSRF attack, I would expect maybe to see the call to the metadata service in my investigation output. So I would look for that specific like IP address, or I would look for that specific like curl request or anything similar. So really, there are different approaches, but yeah, this is like one of the challenges when you build like something that is not really simple as just like a regular Python script.
Gotcha. That's really good information. I think those added challenges and the increased complexity um, is kind of what I think is a challenge and a roadblock to people that aren't super familiar necessarily with these agents. Is using their traditional workflow for things that maybe don't work with that. I say that specifically because it's kind of similar to how the security response for on-prem can be very different for the security response in the cloud. So I'm kind of trying to basically like think about it from that perspective, and like just adding that extra level of confusion, I guess, or sometimes just lack of clarity from people that don't have experience with it. So yeah, it's really good to see that there's actual methodology and I think so many people now think of agentic building as kind of just vibe coding. And so like introducing these topics and explaining that there's a well thought out methodology, and there is a software development lifecycle for agentic tooling, and so yeah, I think that's a lot of good information, and that helps because kind of clarify what we're talking about when we say AI agents and automating with AI as opposed to your regular event bridge rules or something like that. So yeah, so I did want to ask, or actually not ask, I guess we could just kind of talk about the service a little bit, and explain kind of what the service does and go over that before we kind of get into the specific agent that has been implemented. So I'm just going to real quick bring up our page for the security incident response. So what is security incident response? So the whole purpose of this is not to just replace your incident response procedures. AWS incident response or security incident response is a place to centralize all of your response and investigative needs in the cloud. So there's some features of the service, the auto triage, which will triage and do like initial triage and implement ruling to be able to only alert on specific or critical or relevant to your actual environment detections. So that's kind of the threat detection part of the service, but the incident response part of the service is a place for you to be able to do all of your incident response and organize and handle your investigations, and also have access to a team called the Customer Incident Response Team. Not that anyone knows anything about them. If you weren't paying attention, that was the team I worked for when I introduced myself in the beginning. So if you need access to us, this is the service that does that. So yeah, so let's say you have a case, this access security experts. I don't have time to wait, right? I have a super time sensitive incident that I'm dealing with. I create a case, I open it, I say, hey, please help me. Then what happens?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, like there are several approaches like how like a case can be created, right? It can be like a customer reaching out. It can be that our teams like that ingesting alerts and data from the environment like will start investigating and will reach out to our customers. Like right now, like let's focus on like a customer like found like that something happened in the environment and they're looking for help, right? Then they can wait. Well, I can just show you actually how
Yeah,
it looks
let's
like.
do that.
So let me share my screen.
Sure thing.
All right. So this is like the service service page.
And so just to clarify real quick, this is in the console, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're right now in the console, so I can just like go to cases and create a case, and then we can like really like create like a case for us. But in this case, we're gonna create an AWS supported case, and I can just fill out the details, and it will automatically start the flow. Now, do you guys know what is like the most common reason for security event? Any guesses?
Anyone in the chat? Okay, so I'm gonna guess maybe credential exposure.
Oh, you're right, but that's cheating. Of course you know. Yeah, so credential exposure is like one of the most like reasons for security events. And really, I want like to give an example with this scenario. So we're gonna have like in our case like suspicious activity from like some compromised access key.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'm just gonna like fill out the details here again, assuming it's really happening. I assume it's like started on this date. I will input my account ID, and then I really need like to give some information about like this security event. So what happened? What's the issue that we discovered?
Mhm.
What was the impact? What we've done so far, and what we need help with. Now, those are like some questions that we recommend our customers to include because it can help us to get a better understanding of how to investigate a case. But this is like a free text, or you can enter here whatever you can input here, like the security alert from your system or anything else. I already prepared the input for this one. So here we have AWS access key that was leaked in a public GitHub repository. And the idea is like that this is our user that we know that those credentials got leaked to. And we saw some suspicious API calls to S3 buckets. And we don't really know what happened beyond that. We didn't do much. And we just want to get a better understanding what happened with this user. So I'm just going to like input some additional information. I know that S3 is involved. And I also know that like US East region, US East 1 is the region. And again, like if you have any additional information, you can input it here. If you know additional regions impacted, additional services, any threat actors IPs, everything will help both like our responders team and our agent to do a better job.
But this is just the base amount of information or data that needs to be captured before you submit.
Yeah, you can share whatever you have before like we kick off the investigation. Again, the more the merrier, but if you're limited to, if that's what you know, that's what you know, right? And our team and service, the main goal is that we'll help you guys to run the end-to-end investigation. So when we build this agent, we didn't want just to create another chatbot or just like kick out an investigation as soon as like you just giving the input. We noticed that like when cases being created, a lot of time is spent on like the back and forth with our responders. So you might like share the IAM user, but you didn't share the access key, or you might share that you saw suspicious activity to S3 buckets, as we did here, but you didn't share the S3 buckets ARNs. So we included a process here that as soon as you're creating the case, we are triggering our agent to first analyze what exactly was the input and to ask additional questions.
Okay. So from the normal process without the agent, before the agent rather, so this whole process would be manual, right? With the cert responders?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct. And remember, the idea for this agent is to help us to investigate security events faster. And it's both to help our customers and help our responders, because we still like having those complex events that require our human expertise. But like we're trying to see how we can help our humans on our side as well to help our customers to find and resolve security events faster. So you can really see here that the first phase of like gathering evidence is here. So like we got the input and we got back some additional questions. So what was the access key? Or like what was the full ARN? Or what is the ARN of the S3 bucket? And if you have those details, this can really help us with the investigation. I'm just going to skip it for now, and the investigation just like will continue without that additional information, I believe, and hopefully our agent will still know how to resolve it. Now, important to mention that as soon as I created the case, even though the agent started to work, we also, one of our responders got paged. So I hope they will forgive me that I'm creating just test cases, and yeah, so this what happened behind the scenes, and the investigation usually will take around like 10-15 minutes. It really depends on the case, but I have already the same case input that I ran before that we can look into.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so you can see here that we got like I think that this investigation took 8 minutes, and we really got like a comprehensive summary of what exactly happened. So we gave as an input like the IAM user, and we found the access key of the time of the admin user that created this IAM user. So this is our admin,
Mhm.
and we can see that we use like the key was used by another source IP with a different user agent. Uh, for those who are not familiar with Kali Linux, is a Linux distribution that is being used by uh, ethical hackers and non-ethical hackers to run like security testings, penetration testing, etc. And we really getting a timeline. What exactly happened? Which calls has been done? Which buckets were involved? We can see like that we got like an access denied attempt to create a new bucket as well. And we getting also like what are the recommended actions. So what we should do, which steps we should do as next step. So verify the status of the access key, rotate the credentials, review those logs, and we have like medium and short-term recommendations. And if we scroll down, we can really see like different different sections that we can expand in order to get further investigation. So for example, indicators of compromise. Here are the different indicators of compromise that we might want like to implement in our different systems. And it might be automation systems that we have already integrated inside of your environment. We have like, again, the next steps. If you want like to share something with management, we also have executive summary. And really this investigation summary is also like added to the case as a comment. So this is visible to whoever like integrated with the case and our responders in order to go into containment and recover.
Wow, so this is awesome. This goes into a lot of detail. So this is, I'd say, more investigative in nature. So if you can talk a little bit about like kind of where this is pulling from and like what like is like I guess a little bit about the tool itself. If you can share whatever you can share. I'm not sure
Sure.
what
So
level.
this AI agent has like some tools that are integrated to like behind the scenes. So
Mhm.
we integrated with CloudTrail, IAM and EC2 list operations, and Cost Explorer. And
Mhm.
those log sources really helps us to build a picture of like what exactly happened in the environment. You're not required to have like any additional configurations or settings on your side when you're using the agent. So as long as you're like uh, onboarded to the service and have the service activated, it's just happening behind the scenes. Um, Also saw like a question on the chat about how much it costs. So this AI agent is like uh, doesn't have like any additional costs beyond like security incident response service. So if you already subscribed to the service, the agent is come with it.
Yes, and we also had another question that we can address as well. So this one was, what could be the best way of implementing a safe and controlled AI-driven remediation?
Hmm.
Let me just first clarify for everyone in the chat that this tool, this agent, does not remediate. This is only investigative. So it doesn't really make those changes on your behalf, correct?
Yeah, it doesn't make the changes. And like I want like kind of to answer this question and to your question as well. That like I believe that like the vision of like how we're running at least nowadays uh, Gen AI containment should have like the like some kind of human review,
Mhm.
and because like containment actions can get complicated and they can potentially like also make damage, right?
Yep.
As long as you're just running an investigation, you're running the investigation. But if you're now gonna shut down an instance or block security group, you might affect affect your customers, your users.
Mm-hmm.
So the approach should be probably like to take the output of the investigation, or take the output of like whatever the GenAI investigation process did, and to have like a human approving or disapproving it, and then like running the containment in an automated fashion. So one approach can be like going into this like recommended actions, and build a process that transfer them into like scripts that can be triggered by human.
Gotcha. So using this agent as an example, so this one will do the let's call this at least the initial triage and initial part of the investigation. But this is not the response. Like, this isn't the only output that you'll get from a case in security incident response, right? So this is more like, hey, especially, late at night, we're a 24/7 follow the sun shop, but say it's late at night and you have an incident and you're like, crap, we have to investigate this, and getting a quicker response than a human can, kind of get the, I guess, hey, give me a summary and what do I do in this incident. But it's going to be, you said, validated by humans. So say after, like in this example, you made the case, you had the AI driven summary and comments here. What if something is wrong, or something's maybe not wrong, but maybe just not the best for your environment? Because all of this is so very contextual based on what's going on. So what happens in that situation?
Yeah, I would say that that's the reason why we need the 2PR, right? Like that's why we need the human that knows the environment and knows like what really was the case with the user that got compromised, and what the legitimate activity from that user, and knows also probably the admin that
So,
created this user.
oh, sorry, keep going.
No, so like I'm just saying like we really need the humans that like at least nowadays that knows like the context for the environment and have the full picture in order to make a decision. And this can also be dependent on like the business requirements. Because like, for example, in the past I used to work for like financial institutions, banks, and the business requirement was, if there is no WAF protection on our website, it's better that our website will be down. All right, so like if like for some reason we deciding that like if our access key getting exposed, we willing to get risks and shut down the system and impact systems by like revoking the access key immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It can be. It doesn't sound like it will be in most cases, but it really depends on the business. So I would say like the containment actions are like a combination of like context,
Mm-hmm.
and context to the environment, and context to the business.
Gotcha. And so because this is about really, especially in this service, which is a incident response service, time is really one of the most important things. So having this agent, this initial kind of investigation run immediately, and you said what, 8 minutes, and you get this level of detail, which is great. But then you also have one of the CERT responders come in, verify, and confirm that agent as well after that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically the way that we have set up, for at least I guess accuracy, would be the human verification. And so I guess I'm saying, like, how different is that from like not just being on the using this tool side, but how different is it to build a tool that has that extra, like, you know what I mean? Because in a traditional like software development lifecycle, you might have like unit tests, confirming that everything's correct, whatever, or the logic is correct. And we did discuss some of the testing, but because of that level of potential hallucinations and some of those weird things that might pop up with the human verification, does that change your mindset or how you build differently?
Yeah, I think like we discussed it a little bit before, really like before when you build the agent, you need really to make sure that like the different components are working properly, and it doesn't need to be 100%, right?
Mhm.
We probably won't get 100%, but to make sure that in most of the cases we really like finding and like providing the relevant information. And those agents, like right now, like this specific agent, for example, it doesn't see anything, right? Like it doesn't see everything. I'm sorry. Like we have those sources, CloudTrail and others that I mentioned before,
Mhm.
but we cannot see now like the OS level or the application logs on the EC2 instance. Not yet, at least. So we the agent making decisions and making assumptions based on the information that it can see. So we need to be careful there, and we need that human step in the process. Now, when building those agents and when running it against like test cases and test environments, we know what is our ground truth. We know like that in this specific investigation, I would expect to see Mary Major involved, even though I haven't mentioned this admin user in the input, right? So when you're running the test and you know what to expect on the output, you can monitor, and it's easier like to really evaluate the summary. But for running it on new cases that you don't really know what to expect, it's like it get more problematic, and you really need like the human in the loop.
Gotcha. My dogs are really excited about it. So we do have another question that I want to address. Time taken for human response. So the AWS Security Incident Response will have human responders looking at the case within minutes. So usually the human response is already acknowledged and is looking at the case by the time that the AI finding, or the agent findings are posted. So usually that's a pretty quick validation. So yeah, just to explain that. And then it looks like there is a little bit of confusion in the chat. So this isn't related to support at all. This is a separate service that isn't necessarily related to your support tier. So this would be related just to the AWS Security Incident Response service, right?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that as well. Awesome. And so I do have a question that I wanted to ask the chat. So let's do a poll. Which security investigation task would you most want an AI agent to handle? Feel free to add 1, 2, 3, or 4 into the chat so that way we can see the results. In this, for me, I think that what we're doing here with SIR is where I want to see the AI agent. Especially with initial triage. This is probably for me the most time-consuming part. Just getting spun up on a detection or an alert, and getting that context, so quickly from an agent, I think would be super impactful. But I could see like agentic tooling for basically any or all of these. I don't. Do you see anything that might not work with an AI agent?
Not really. I would say it depends how you build it. So I can say like that, like low correlation and timeline, evidence collection. If you're not gonna build like your agent in an efficient way to just like ingest the relevant information
Mhm.
and knows how to summary and like how to cut out the irrelevant details, you're gonna get out of context really quickly. So again, maybe I'm getting too technical with that. So the short answer is yes, you can do it for all four if you do it correctly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I agree. I think that one might also be a challenging one. But we've also used, well, I've personally used agents for investigation reports, like summaries as well. So there's definitely a lot that can be done. And I think that there's kind of that desire for these agents, especially within security, where the context is less binary and a little bit more muddied, I guess, since they're using systems in unintended ways. So that whole context is very easy to miss or lose. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity within security for agentic tooling and just being able to maybe either get that context or just to assist with getting us that context even quicker. So cool. That was a good question, or good responses to question. I'm not going to compliment my own questions. That's weird. So Daniel, before we get into some of our resources and our side quests, is there anything else that maybe you want to discuss, or any other projects related to AI agents within security, or kind of your experience with building security tools with AI agents?
I think I covered most of it so far. Nothing really to add. I can share like something that like I see like I think it's cool. So like recently like uh, I've been working like 2 years ago on like a tool internally for security scans, not AI involved, just like static code security scans, and it's available as like an open source as well. You can find it like automated security helper, and this tool was there like for a couple of years, and really like recently I added like capability for MCP integration. So I thought it's like pretty cool like to see how you can like take your also legacy and non-AI the more legacy type of like security scanners that are still valuable nowadays, right? Because when you like run a security scan against your repository or against your system, um, the static rules and the old methodologies are still working great. But with with the power of MCP and AI, you can really automate and make this whole process easier. So with this MCP, for example, you can just like ask your AI client to scan your repository, and then when you get the results of like what's wrong, you can ask your AI agent to like, hey, so based on what is wrong, implement the recommendation, or cut a PR for me with the recommendations and let me review it. So I find this use case also pretty cool.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. That also, it especially what you say there kind of makes me think of how not everything needs to be agentic, like we were saying earlier, sometimes you don't want a model to be able to make those, maybe remediation or containment actions for you. So yeah, not everything has to be agentic now. There's still lots of algorithms and tooling that works even better when it's not connected to an AI. We do have a question in the chat. Are there time constraints on AI agents in terms of response times? Maybe we need a little bit more clarification on that. As far as time constraints for AI agents, do you mean like the speed at which they respond to the investigation, or is this related to like we'll have to get further clarification in the comments. There's another question. Scaling issues when dealing with big data. I'm sure you're probably sick of questions about scaling, but Daniel, do you want to take this one as well?
Sure. So yes, there are like scaling issues when like you handle big data. We touched it a bit before. So it's all around like how you really design and build your agent, because like if you're gonna make sure the agent using the specific queries and only like saves on its memory the relevant information, it's gonna be helpful. And if you're gonna just like upload like a JSON with like 2 gigs of like CloudTrail logs, you're probably not gonna get good response, right? So you need to find the right balance between getting enough information, filtering your data, and saving what is important without missing like any important information. And regarding the time constraints, if I understood correctly, it's like more around how, if we concern about like the performance of how long the agent takes to respond. And if that's the question, I hope it is. Yeah, I would say, yeah, of course it's a concern, because like if you have right now like a security event, you don't want to get a response from your AI agent 2 hours later, right? You want to get it as soon as possible. So there are also like design considerations that you need to take, and you can define that like if the investigation takes more than X minutes, it's probably just gonna summarize what it found and share it out.
Yeah, definitely. And also those are some other considerations as to why there is that human verification.
Yeah.
Because yeah, there'll be times when maybe there is too much data, or something happened along the way and you need a human involved. So that's why we have that. I don't want to call it as a backup because I am that responder, and so me being a backup to an AI agent doesn't sound very good. But yeah, that's why you have that that extra layer. And so yeah, I think that this is a really cool tool, and we're going to go into right now. So Daniel, for you, every episode we go into some of our knowledge quests, and so we are going to go over some resources to be able to learn more about this, and to, as Tristan usually says, build aura, and increase our knowledge about security. So I'm going to start off. Let's hope that producer Jeff starts adding links to the comments soon. And ta-da! So this is one of our level 100 Explorer resources. So where do you start? How about foundations of agentic AI? It seems like this prescriptive guidance would be a good place to start about the basics on agentic AI in AWS. So, what are they? What are their purpose? How do we integrate them? What are our next steps? Everything in here is what you would go look into, dive a little deep, read into, some of the principles, or hey, maybe multi-tenant architecture. But this is like where you'd start off. This is where our kind of level 100 foundational information comes from. So once we're finished here, we can move over to automate incident response and forensics, because now that we know a little bit about agentic AI and the purpose and features and stuff like that, then we can start looking into automating the incident response and forensics, again, using AI. And so using these kind of resources and being able to get a good idea of kind of the basics of what we're talking about here today, you should be able to give or get given a security event description and identify which AWS services or logs would provide relevant data. So for example, using our AWS workshop, unauthorized IAM credential use. This is a simulation of a IAM credential exposure, which is why we why Daniel used that as an example earlier, because it's the most common thing we see. And so kind of using those resources to be able to answer a level 100 question or scenario. Moving up to the level 200, which is our adventurer level, we have some resources for security best practices for tool integration. You're adding an AI agent into your existing tooling or workflows or what have you. So security best practices is going to be important. Going over, like you see here, authentication and authorization, data protection, monitoring. This goes into a little bit of deeper security topics, but this is what the best practices would look like, and it's important to kind of review those and go over that if you're going to work with tooling and trying to I don't want to say mess around, but to experiment and get some agentic workflow into your tooling. And then also the automation of forensics on AWS, like we were talking about earlier with evidence collection, the automation of forensics and evidence collection and log sources and all that stuff. Well, not only is it a huge topic, but we still do have documentation where you can read about automating forensics. So there's just absolutely tons of information out there, both on automating these processes and the agentic tools to be able to build those. And so ideally with the level 200 resources, you'd be able to map out an investigation workflow, including data sources, correlation points, and key indicators that you can use for your investigation. And so here we're going to show another workshop where you can kind of use some of these methods and the resources to be able to run this workshop, the SIEM on Amazon OpenSearch service. And so this is pretty, I'd want to say, self-explanatory, but that's what I'm here for, is to explain. So building or even using a SIEM on OpenSearch is going to be super important for your investigations. So kind of using different tooling methodologies and just seeing what is possible within something like Amazon OpenSearch and tying that, integrating that with a SIEM or whatever security tooling that you are looking to implement into your workflows. So yes, I want to take another second. Daniel, again, thank you so much. This is so last minute. I appreciate you hopping on and kind of giving us a demo and explaining a little bit about our new AI agent for the Security Incident Response Service. This was really helpful because not only did we speak about the specifics, the specific agent on our service, but also just about agentic building. And so that, I think that was super helpful. And I think that was probably the part that, we got most questions about. And then, we do have another question. So let's answer that before we hop away. Assuming data is spread across regions, does one have a single agentic or one per region? So I'm going to jump ahead of you real quick, Daniel. This isn't region specific, right?
No, it's not. Like eventually, like we need like to give our agent like as much information as possible. So if we know the affected regions, we should like mark them in the case when we creating the case, or you can also mention it in the case description. The agent is not limited to one region. It's gonna run cross region for the investigation.
Perfect. Okay. So kind of like IAM where it's regionless.
It's not accurate because like the security incident response is still a region service. So like whenever you create your membership, this is gonna be a region, but the investigation itself is not limited to a single region.
Gotcha. Thank you. That clarifies. Awesome. Yep. Just wanted to sneak that last question in there. But yes, thank you so much for joining. We talked a little bit about some of our tooling, our investigative agent, and then the difference between agentic AI and traditional automation. And then before I go, because I do this every single week, I'm not sure if you knew this, Daniel, but I end every episode with closing out with, please create an incident response plan. I do that for obvious reasons, but it's funny to actually have someone from the team on. And also, since I have you here on a public platform, Daniel is building this tooling specific for, well, not me, but the customer incident response team, which I'm a part of. So it's cool that I get to actually say, thank you for all the hard work that you do for our team and all the awesome tools that you build for us while we're investigating. So yes, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you coming on. Everyone, go through the resources, our knowledge quest, tell me what you think about them. We do have a new landing page, which well, kind of looks ugly, the URL. I'll have to change that. But we have a new landing page, so I'm going to kind of create a little summary there, and we can kind of discuss a little bit about the resources and, or this topic. So yeah, new things coming for the safer. Next week, we won't have an episode because it's our reInvent, so we'll have a break for reInvent. And then after that, the week after that is going to be our final episode of the year. So that's super exciting. And we might even have another special guest on. So lots of cool, fun things going on. And we really appreciate your time and joining us. And hopefully I'll see you next week, or in 2 weeks rather, for another episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Daniel. Appreciate it.